Go ahead.
Well, welcome to the Don't Bet Scared Homie podcast, episode 2, UFC 238. We're just going to make some predictions, what we like, what we don't love about each fight, and love to hear what you have to say in the comments.
I don't know if I'd love to hear it, but we'll hear it.
Well, yeah.
We'll hear you guys out.
All right, well, we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. So starting off, Caitlin Chukagian versus JoJo Bad Mofo Calderwood. Right now, the line is, let me look this. Chukagian is it's a pick'em fight, both at minus 115.
Yeah, I was seeing it even at Bovada. That's the curtain jerker. Chukagian,
and the line has moved a little bit. JoJo started as a minus 120 favorite to the plus 100 of Chukagian. The line has moved. So now the odds makers just don't know what to put this at. I side towards JoJo. I think she has a more well-rounded game. I know everyone loves to say, blonde fighter trained with Holly Holm, and she's a Holly Holm replica or whatever that means. But if that's true, I don't think her grappling's there either. So I could see JoJo has more paths to victory, and I like her overall game. She mixes up punches and kicks a little better, but I don't necessarily love the line or have a real dog in the race.
I would go with Calderwood. It could go either way. Calderwood has moments where she doesn't show up and she lets the other opponent dictate the pace and just kind of goes with the flow and is okay with losing a decision. But otherwise, she has moments where she is really aggressive and hunts for a finish. And I think she's the more dynamic striker and grappler and has more ways to win. And I don't like the term meat and potatoes fighter, but when I think of that, I think of Chukagian. She kind of just always has the same game plan and always tries to just have pretty basic boxing style and aggression, and if her opponents can counter that, she struggles to go into a sort of a second gear, so I would go with Calderwood.
Okay. Moving on, the minus 135 favorite, Eddie Wineland, meets the plus 105 dog, Grigory Popov. And I actually like Wineland here. Wineland is, I believe he's from Chicago, and he's a fireman there, or a fireman in the nearby area. So he's going to have a lot of the hometown crowd behind him. And Grigory Popov is actually 3 years older than Eddie Wineland, which was pretty surprising. It's his UFC debut. And I was looking at his record and who some of his opponents are, and his last fight was in China, and he fought a guy who was 3-5, and before that, he fought a guy who was 19-12. He's not fighting greatest competition. He's really I couldn't find any footage on him at all. But I like Eddie Wineland. He's a known commodity. Yeah, he's had some losses, and his jaw did get wired shut in one of his knockout losses, which is always tough to hear about. I like A1. I like his boxing. I like his overall game, and he's a tough night out for anybody.
I will say we didn't even know this fight was happening until like a couple days ago because it was not on a lot of websites and some people weren't even talking about it, and it was on the announced bouts in Wikipedia, which is strange. So we're kind of predicting this one last minute. Wineland has had kind of a on and off career. Like he's a vet, but he's only fought maybe once a year, less than that, and I don't know much about this Russian guy at all, other than I think he trains with Marbek Taisumov is one of his guys. So he'll probably have an aggressive Muay Thai style, and he doesn't have that many losses, so he could be more fresh in his career, and it could be a Wineland decision, but it could also be a vicious knockout loss. So I'll go the Popov guy. I don't know if that's his name, but I'll go it just for being different.
Do note that Popov, it sounds like when you think Russian debuter, I thought he was going to be a wrestler coming forward, but yeah, he does have the Muay Thai style, so if I would not predict a grapple-heavy style going forward. And I think Eddie Wineland's got a put together standing game. And you got spinning heel kick by Henan Barao. He was, arguably doing well up until that point, but we'll definitely see how the match plays out. The minus 135 line is not the most enticing in the world. If Wineland was a dog or somehow the line flips at the weigh-ins or something, I'm not sure what could happen. But if the line flips to Wineland as a dog, then I would be far more attracted to that.
I will say our predictions were a little rough last week, so I'll go out on a limb and say Popov by a vicious KO just because we don't have much to lose at this point. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't get burned by Joe, who comes in last week. Joe was 9-0, and then I finally go through his record. I'm like, how did he look that bad? And look at his opponent's records, and he just is fighting bums.
Yeah.
But Von Lewis versus Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart is now the plus 165 dog to Lewis's minus 205 favorite. The line's moved about 20 points in Stewart's direction. Last night, Lewis was minus 205, and Darren Stewart was plus 170. So there's been some swing, some money put on Stewart, but I really like Von Lewis in this. But reason for that, I mean, he was dominating Uriah Hall until he didn't, and Uriah Halled him. You know, spinning back heel kicks, Graveyard Musasi in the face. Who did he just lose or win against?
Isn't he a Contender Series guy? He might not be, but I thought he was.
Von Lewis is a Contender Series guy. He won.
I like the Dentist Stewart a lot. I'm a fan of his. I'm looking up his record right now. I've watched him in the UFC, and he's had a lot of come from behind wins. He had a split decision loss to Edmonds Boy, I think, in his last fight, but he had he TKO'd Spicy, which was a pretty wild fight, and same with Charles Bird. He's kind of you know what he's going to bring. He's a brawler, but he's got big power, and he started his career at 205 in the UFC, I think, and then he moved down to 85, so the power's probably going to be there even more. And Bivon is one of those guys that I don't know if he doesn't take shots well, but he might be just young in his career and isn't used to getting, recovering from shots in that sort of sense. So if Stewart connects, he definitely could put the lights out, and I like the Dentist, so I'd say the Dentist by KO.
Yeah, I would say I probably had no confidence in this fight at all. Same confidence as in the flyweight fight between
the Dentist.
Bird. Oh, yeah, the Dentist. But the only thing I like about Von Lewis that I haven't seen from the Dentist is Lewis does have a clinch style, and he has implemented it. I watched his Contender Series fight and his fight with Hall. He did put in some good clinch work. So maybe, after getting third round knocked out, one punch by Uriah Hall, maybe he does be a little bit more careful, implements his wrestling a little more. He's able to wear on Stewart. So I think it would be Stewart by KO or Lewis by decision or maybe late finish. I don't know. I don't have a great feel for this one.
Stewart by KO. Round one.
We've got Zinan Yan versus Angela Hill. Angela Hill plus 140 to Yan's minus 170. I have been a Hill denier my entire life. I've never seen Hill. I don't know. I didn't love her personality on The Ultimate Fighter. I'm sorry, and I'm probably biased against that. But she's kind of like Jakagian almost. Just the jab and run. The jab,
to keep her
hits. Yeah, but and I haven't seen much on Yan. I do know she's durable and she does push forward, and she's kind of has a brawler style, and that might be the type to beat Hill. But I could also see Hill jabbing and keeping distance and using her kicks.
I'll go Hill by submission for no real reason, but I like it. I see it happening.
All right. Moving on to the prelims, we've got Kelvin Cater versus Ricardo Lamas. Lamas is plus 125 right now. The underdog with Cater is minus 155. What do you see?
I do like Cater in this fight. I think he's aggressive. He's at a point in his career where he hasn't lost much. I just think he's still got a lot to give in his career. Lamas is a little bit older. He's had some rough losses. He's the Chicago boy, so he'll get a fan pop, but I don't know how much that'll affect Cater. I would say Cater by decision or Cater by TKO.
Yeah, I'd like Cater by TKO or decision. It hurts Lamas in the first. But the one thing that I don't like entirely is in Lamas' big path to victory is going to be his wrestling. I don't think that he's going to be able to box very well with Kelvin, but if he's able to get his wrestling going, get a takedown 1 or 2 rounds, I could see him stealing a round or two, especially late. And he's a veteran. He shot a takedown late on Aldo in the 5th. He's a guy that can definitely. Oh yeah, I saw the smirk. But he can definitely get his wrestling going. He's a vet. He knows the time. He knows the clock. But the big fan is Cater's Bird.
Is
Cater's got
Cater's
that
Bird's
bird.
gonna be cage side? Is someone gonna be there like with the falcon on their arm, but it's Cater's Bird on their arm, and then they send him in to attack Llamas if things get desperate? Maybe. We'll see.
Um, Moving on, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Alexa Grasso. Karolina is minus 125. DeGrasso is minus 105. Um, do you have any real pick in this one?
It's even. I like Grasso just because I'm kind of a fan of her, and I think she's younger in her career. I know the UFC is trying to put a big push behind her because they're struggling to find talent and stars in Mexico, and they're trying to make her one. So I know she's a big deal to the UFC right now, and if they can get her on a win streak, they'll do it. So there's definitely a lot of pressure on Grasso, but I think she's coming into her own a little bit in the UFC, and I'll say Grasso by decision.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Grasso by decision as well. Carolina seemed to struggle with grapplers. I mean, I remember watching the pay-per-view of Buffalo Wild Wings when she got strangled by Claudia Gadelha in a minute. Just got taken down, strangled in a minute. And Carolina has, I don't want to say she's slowed down or seems less confident in her punches, but yeah, she has not been trending upwards, I guess is what I'll say. And Alexa Grasso appears to be trending upwards and has some momentum, has the push behind her. So, yeah, I'd pick Grasso as well, but not necessarily love the line. The odds makers don't either.
Yeah.
But a fight that I do like, Aljamain Sterling versus Pedro Munoz, and the line is coming back. Aljo is minus 135 to Pedro Munoz is plus 105. I like Aljo's distance. I like his wrestling. I like him being a purple belt in Matt Serra Jiu-Jitsu school. I know Pedro Munoz has had a black belt or has grappling. He wasn't, I don't know, maybe an Abu Dhabi winner. I'm not exactly sure on that. I'm just making that up now. But a lot of people are in love with his knockout win over Caraway and his recent win over Garbrandt. But I think Aljamain's too smart and going to keep the distance. And when he is within distance, he's just going to grapple. And I would be hard-pressed to see Munoz by submission.
The human transport, the human backpack, the human anaconda. He likes to call himself those things, but I like it. I like that he's trademarking himself as that. I think he gets a little desperate with his takedowns sometimes, and he doesn't adjust much on his feet, or I don't know if he's not comfortable on the feet, or he just knows he's so much better on the ground usually that's just his sole focus is getting it to the ground. But also, Munoz is a black belt, and he's won some tournaments in terms of jiu-jitsu, but gi jiu-jitsu does not always translate to MMA jiu-jitsu, and there's a lot of guys that have like really grip-specific games and like to play slow gi or go for the same things every time, and then you lose all that when you're in an MMA fight, and they just are basically a defensive. You have solid defense and won't get submitted or anything like that, but they can be stuck on their back or in bad positions. I would go Aljamain by decision probably, but Pedro did just bomb on Garbrandt, and I think he's got the momentum, and I think he's not afraid of trading with a guy like Aljo or risking getting taken down to land bombs. So if I was betting, I would avoid it, but Aljo will probably win a decision.
Yeah. I don't actually take, the headliner is Marlon Moraes, and I actually don't take that loss away from Sterling. I know he did get melted and then dabbed on the floor, which is
just a poor shot.
But that was after a break. I don't know if it was an eye poke or a low kick or something, but I watched that fight again, and it was after the break, and he shoots in on the takedown at the exact same time that Henry throws the switch kick, and that's just something like they both had one technique they were going to go for on the break, and he just ran headfirst into it. And then I think Cody Garbrandt, other than staying in the pocket, the path to victory I see for Munoz is the leg kicks that then hurt Sterling, and that can happen to anybody. Munoz is a little fire hydrant, and I think if he can get a leg kick going on Sterling or even hurt him with one that lands funky, Munoz could then really change the fight there. But other than that, I see more ways that Sterling wins a decision than Munoz finishing him. So and that's kind of how I feel about the fight. But yeah, I like Aljo. I would say I'm like 80% confident in that.
Yeah.
The headliner, which I'm a bajillion% confident on, is Tatiana Suarez with Nina Ansaroff. And I don't even want to look at the line right now, but it's minus 850 to Ansaroff's plus 525. And yeah, I mean, I am picking Suarez until someone beats her.
I think Suarez might be from Chicago. I could be totally wrong about that, but I think she might be. But I do like Suarez. I don't see any reason to really pick against her. But I will say Ansarov has momentum. She's proven to be a tough out for people that everybody thought was going to like steamroll her, and she's got Amanda Nunes in her corner. She's got probably the best female camp around her. So there's a lot of fire and fury in that corner. And I don't know. It's a lot for any fighter to overcome, but I'd say Suarez is a really good grappler, and he'll probably just blanket her. It's either a submission or a decision.
Suarez is from California, by the way.
I was very wrong about that. Who am I thinking of? Some female fighter that's from Chicago. I mean, I know Felice Herriges, but there's someone else. There's people from Chicago. I know.
There, yes. But the thing about Nina Ansaroff, and I guess one of the arguments I've seen is that Nina's training with the champ right now, but the champ is not an Olympic wrestler, and I don't know how well that translates. And the sucker's pick of this weekend would be this fight goes to decision because Suarez is a bulldog, and she finished Carla with like 2 minutes left into the third. Like, she's constantly going for it. And the fights that she has won by decision, she shoots a takedown 5 seconds left into the third round. You know, she's always going for it. So the sucker's pick is this fight goes the distance for whatever odd you find that at. But I don't know. I am also an Ansaroff denier. I didn't like that she was thinking about retiring a long time ago and then caught fire in her last. I think she's on a 2-fight streak. But yeah, I don't necessarily love Ansaroff.
Okay. Moving on.
Going to the pay-per-view, Tai Tuivasa versus Blagoy Ivanov, who took out my Kenosha boy Ben Rothwell in his last fight. Ivanov plus 110, Tuivasa minus 140, and the line has trended towards Ivanov, actually, but not large movement on it. I like Tai Tuivasa. I think they're the same size, and Tuivasa moves faster. And if he comes in with a smarter game plan than he had against Junior Dos Santos, it's only a 3-round fight, so I'm not too worried about Tuivasa gassing. Unless Blagoy just frustrates him all night for 15 minutes like he did against Rothwell with his jab. I haven't seen a ton of Ivanov, even though there's all the footage in the world out there of him.
I don't know. Tuivasa should win, but he's a guy that kind of just, I don't know if he doesn't care about his career, but he's not a guy that's particularly worried about losing decisions, I feel like, or adjusting per se. Like, he just likes to bomb and go for it and have a crazy style, and if it works, it works, and he can overwhelm people quickly. But Blagoy is kind of the exact opposite. He's super methodical, and for a heavyweight is very, takes his time and doesn't take too many risks, and has some pretty good defense, but neither guy really did much in that Rothwell-Blagoy fight, and I honestly thought Rothwell won, and I think even John Anik was like, a big return for Ben Rothwell, and then it ends up being like a decision loss for him, so that fight was kind of a shit show, but I don't know, I guess Tuivasa, but Blagoy, yeah, the only thing I don't like is Blagoy got finished by Junior, and Blagoy went or Tuivasa got finished by Junior or whatever, and Blagoy went the full 5 rounds. So there's some MMA math for you.
I would say Blagoy by decision if you were going to pick Blagoy. See if you can get some favorite money on that. Okay. Moving on, a fight that I don't love at all in the odds. Peter Yan versus Jimmy Rivera. Yan is a minus 325 favorite to Rivera's plus 250 dog money.
This is when I'd be confident in Yan getting it finished. So I wouldn't necessarily bet on him because, I mean, he's a fairly big favorite. I think he's like minus 350. But if you're on DraftKings or something like that and you're looking at one of the bigger favorites that are cash-wise to put money on, I think he'd get you a lot of points. And I think he's probably going to disposed of Rivera quickly.
Yeah, I don't like the cash line on it at all, but if you're running at DraftKings, Jan would be a good pick to have potentially. He's got a high chance of finishing, especially if you don't love the Shevchenko I fight. I'm not exactly sure why you wouldn't. But yeah, someone this week is going to break the scale. It's either going to be Shevchenko putting up a crazy amount of DraftKings points against I, or I mean, Cejudo Moraes could end up having a crazy amount of points. But this one is one that you could probably find. I'm not sure what the DraftKings number is on it, but I could see Jan carrying a lineup through DraftKings this weekend.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Next fight, Tony Ferguson minus 155 favorite to Cerrone's plus 125 dog, and I love Ferguson. Guy's the unheralded champ. He got his belt taken from him, and I think the pressure is going to be wild. I think he's going to have unbelievable pressure on Cerrone. We've seen Cerrone kind of wilt to that in the past. I loved his funky grappling, even though I did read a stat that he was 0 for 5 in his last 5 takedowns, if you count those Imanari rolls as takedowns. He hasn't really shown the willingness to grapple, where Cerrone has shown a willingness to grapple. But I think if Cerrone grapples with Ferguson, that's going to be rough for him. A lot of people like Cerrone's jiu-jitsu. I like Cerrone's jiu-jitsu, but Ferguson's funky.
Yeah, I think there's no real reason to pick against Ferguson other than I think the 3-round space actually favors Cowboy because it gives Ferguson less time to accumulate that damage and put on the pace that he likes to put on, and he can be a little bit of a slow starter. Like even Michael Johnson was able to win a 3-round decision on him just by putting more power in, and he hurt him with his jab and just putting more power on the boxing, and Ferguson couldn't really get Johnson to respect anything he was doing, but that was a while ago. I think Ferguson he improves his game rapidly. He is getting older. He's cut weight for a long time. He's a big lightweight. The only reason I'm hesitant is every time I've picked against Cowboy or I've picked Cowboy, I've been wrong. So I'm like, so when I'm leaning away from Cowboy, I feel like I should be picking Cowboy. So I will say I'll go with Cowboy by TKO, but I don't know why. I just have a feeling Cowboy could pull it off. He's one of those guys that either shows up and puts on a phenomenal performance or just kind of puts it away early and doesn't really care. But I think this one he's got a lot riding on, and he does want to go for a title one last time. I don't know. I think Cowboy could get it done.
Yeah, I don't love the motivated Cerrone story, the dad Cerrone. Like Ferguson's a dad. Like what is he not fighting for his kid or something? I don't know. But yeah, I think someone's going to get a really hot start and just put a beating on the other. I don't think this is going to be a back and forth war. I think one guy's going to get to a hot start and then keep that pace going. And I think Ferguson's more likely to do that than Cerrone. It took Cerrone around to get over Iaquinta, but Iaquinta didn't really put on a wild pace at the first round as well. So I'm more likely to believe that Ferguson's going to put the damage on before Cerrone does.
I just wonder where Tony's at mentally overall. I mean, he seems like he's in a good place, but did the guy on the wall get evicted yet? We don't know. These are the questions we're wondering about.
Guy wasn't paying Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Chael's wondering about that Wi-Fi. I think we're all wondering. But no, I don't know. There's no good reason to pick against him, but I'll go Cowboy by knockout because I like it.
Because you like controversy, like disagreeing. But the next fight, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Eye. Valentina's a minus 1,100 to Eye's plus 650, and that's Valentina all day, any way she wants it, twice on Sundays. I don't see a real good way for Eye to win.
I think Shevchenko should win pretty easily, but I will say I don't like how. I think she was doing it just to be cute, but she posted that video of her hitting the heavy bag, and then I's like, why are you speeding up your video? And then we do some digging, and it turns out she did speed up the video, so it's like, what the hell, Valentina, what are you doing? But maybe she just wanted to show all her combos and show the Pavel Fedotov kickboxing. I don't know. I would go Shevchenko as a pretty, especially if you're on DraftKings, she'll probably rack up a lot of points, but I really has nothing to lose at this point. I don't even think she has many fans. I don't think people really like Jessica Eye, or I think most people are wondering why she even got this title fight. So I think she's going to go for it, and she's going to look for any finish she can or any way to steal this fight. So Shevchenko should win, but who knows?
It is kind of confusing for Caitlin Chukagian, who lost by split decision to Jessica in her last fight, and I gets the title shot, and she's the first fight of the night.
I think a lot of it has to do with, like, before there was the flyweight division, I was like the unofficial best flyweight in the world and all this stuff. I think the UFC buys into that for whatever reason, and I think there's some momentum there, even though the fans don't see it.
Yeah. Jessica did switch from Ohio to the PI, so she's now training in Vegas at the PI. And I forget who her new coach is, but I know that they're putting together like a wrestling game plan. Like if you watch the Embedded,
So it was Gray Maynard.
Yeah. What?
I think it was Gray Maynard.
Gray Maynard. Yeah, Gray Maynard's her head coach. But if she's going to try to wrestle Shevchenko, I would watch the Juliana Pena footage where Pena is a bigger girl and pushes a grappling heavy style, and Shevchenko had no problem hurling her to the ground twice and then getting an armbar. But yeah, I think minus 1100 is the correct line for this fight.
Yeah.
And then finally, the main event between Cejudo and Moraes. The line on this one is, let me check. Moraes is minus 125 to Cejudo's minus 105, so essentially even.
I like it that Cejudo's a slight dog right now, but I've been picking Cejudo pretty heavily in this one, unless that random knee injury is actually a big factor. I don't think it is, but I think Cejudo's a calculated enough guy where he was seriously injured, he would just pull out. I don't think he's the type of guy that would take those types of risks, especially with him being all about his youngest gold Olympic medal or whatever. Did you know? I didn't know until
Nobody knew
about it. I think he keeps reminding people because we just forget. But I like Cejudo. I think everybody just underestimates him because he's a flyweight moving up. But I mean, the guy dismantled TJ, and aside from the weight cut, I think even if they fought at 35, he'd do the same thing to TJ. So I like it. I like, especially look at the second DJ fight. I think DJ's got some of the best grappling and defensive grappling and takedown defense in the game. And Cejudo pushed him to that next level where he was getting all those clinch trips and just overwhelming him with takedowns. DJ'd never seen before. And unless Moraes can really just bomb on Cejudo early, which maybe he can, but if he can't, I think it's going to be a long night. And Cejudo by decision would be a pretty safe pick. If I was balling out like Floyd, I would just throw all the money on Cejudo. Just take a big bag of cash and dump it on Cejudo's head.
Yeah, I like Cejudo by decision as well. Marlon Moraes is a Ricardo Almeida black belt. So, I've seen some argument that maybe Moraes' jiu-jitsu is better than we've seen, and everyone sees that guillotine choke that he landed on a Sun Sao, and, that was sweet, and he had a great ground game. I'm not disagreeing with that, but Cejudo is an Olympic gold medalist. I don't know if you believe that or not, and how young he was when he did that. But yeah, Cejudo, I think a big thing is Cejudo can't get lazy in the striking, and he knows that, and he's been training for that. And if you look at the guys that Moraes has scalped in the past, I've already said that I don't hold anything against the Sterling knockout, but Rivera capped his right hand low, literally center of his chest. If you look, and he's got that goofy, like almost karate stance going, and he just gets scalped over the top. And then Sun Sao got punched, but he actually had his hand up, and it's a 4-ounce glove that goes literally right through and hits him clean on the chin. And that's, it's like Eddie Alvarez hitting Rafael Dos Anjos. It's one of those punches that just lands right through the guard. And, I think Marlon Moraes is a fantastic striker, but I think Cejudo's going to come in with a great game plan. It'll probably frustrate Marlon Moraes.
Okay, yep. So I guess from here we'll quickly cover some betting ideas, parlays, DraftKings lineups, and then we'll wrap it up and stop talking. And if there's anybody even watching at this point, shout out to you because you're the real.
Yeah, exactly. Oof. But I would say if I'm confident, if I was gonna put together a cute little parlay, I would put together Jan Tuivasa. I'll put my money where my mouth is with Cejudo and T-Ferg. I'm not sure what that is, but I could see that being a good lineup. And then you could add Aljamain Sterling on top of that. I'm not sure what that cashes out. Do you see any DraftKings lineups or anything that you love?
So I put together some stuff. I put together 4 different betting options on Bovada. I just look at the Bovada lines. I don't even shop around for the best lines. So if some of you guys are frustrated by us only looking at Bovada, let us know what other lines you look at, or like there's better betting sites out there, or this is what I use, or shut the fuck up. I don't care, but just I don't know, mention it if it really bothers you. But I did a 4-team parlay that was Cater, Cejudo, Calderwood, and Cerrone. It's a little bit risky, but Bovada's giving it to you at 12-1 odds. So if you put down $20, you get 270 back total. So that's pretty sweet. I mean, Cerrone's a risk, but I like the 4-man parlay. You got 3 relatively safe picks, and then you're kind of just throwing it on the old dog. But then I put together a 6-man parlay, which if I was betting, I would do this one because I like to be a little bit wild with the parlays, and I think it can pay off sometimes. But I did Stewart, Grasso, Cejudo, Jan, Suarez, and Shevchenko. So basically you have 3 risky ones at the start, Stewart, Grasso, and Cejudo, and then 3 what should be guarantees, Jan, Suarez, and Shevchenko. And they're giving that parlay at a 14-1 odds. So if you bet 20, you'd get 316 back. So that's pretty sweet. And if you don't want to be as risky, if you like smaller, safer picks, if you do Cejudo and Stewart together, and you were being really wild, that would where would I put that? I don't know what that would net
I don't know
you.
why I love Stewart so much.
I just like the potential for the KO, but I like that. And then I do like so if you're being wild with that one, you put $1,000 down, you get 5,100 back. So on top of it, so you get 6,000 total back for Stewart and Cejudo. So yeah, if you were really betting out and you didn't give a fuck, drop a grand on Cejudo and Stewart and make $6,000 back. But if you really wanted to be safe, you're really balling out Mayweather style and just betting for easy wins, I'd say put all your money on Cejudo. Just foreclose on your house and put it on Cejudo, and then buy a bigger house. I like his chances of winning, and they're basically giving you 2-1 odds. So if you put down 100, you get a little less than 200 back, but it's a pretty sweet day at the bank if that's what you're looking for. And then in terms of DraftKings, I put together 2 different lineups, and so there's some people that take the DraftKings real seriously, and a lot of guys that just do it mathematically and put in a crazy amount of teams and do it all based off the algorithm. So if that's you, good for you, keep doing that. But if you're just looking for 1 or 2 teams to put in, I like to avoid spending all your cash. So the closest I got to spending all the cash without doing it was Calderwood, Cejudo, Jan, Ferguson, Stewart, and Cater. The real risk there is Stewart and maybe Cater and Ferguson, but Jan, Cejudo, Calderwood, those guys, I feel like that's a pretty safe one. You had $100 left over, so there might not be many people putting in that specific one. Jan was the biggest favorite there, so if you're looking for big cash favorites to pick on, I like Jan because I think he'll get a finish for you versus some of the other ones could get a decision or potentially lose. And then if you really want to go wild, this one had 600 in cash left over, so I don't think there'll be many people picking this one at all, but I still think it could hit, is Stewart, Grasso, Shevchenko, Cater, Cejudo, and Calderwood. So you still have Cejudo and Calderwood in there, Cater as well, and Stewart as well, I guess, but then the alternates are Grasso and Shevchenko. Shevchenko could put up a ton of points for you, so I like that because there's $600 left over, so I bet there will be nobody putting in that line. So I mean, the real goal, at least for me in DraftKings, is to win, not to put in a line that millions of other people are going to put in. So those are my.
Yeah, but sometimes the obvious picks are maybe that happens.
But I've won on DraftKings where I put in a lineup and then you realize a million other people put it in, and then you tie for 7th or 5th or 8th, whatever, and then you end up getting no cash because there's 20 people that tied at the same place as you, and it's all split up, and you're just this is communism.
Suarez could literally just come in and clean sweep Ansarov with all the transitions and all the grappling, and sometimes you get some crazy hit score.
But
for DraftKings, Suarez most likely be on the winning lineup if she does go in there and just, I don't know, break dance all over Nina Ansarov.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't want to go Shevchenko or Jan, you could go Suarez instead. I don't know. I've seen the least of Suarez of any of those big favorites, so I like Jan. I think he's a destroyer right now. My cat seems to agree. But I don't know. I think that's a good team.
I don't know.
You can grill me later.
I don't know what Suarez is. Yeah, exactly. I'm off my Suarez and Shevchenko rant.
I mean, she's one of the bigger favorites. I think she's around the same thing, 93, 9400. I can't remember exactly, but definitely one of the bigger favorites.
I don't know what the DraftKings points are, but I would pick Suarez over Shevchenko. Because if Suarez does get a finish, and you believe she'll get a finish, she's going to do
It's
it.
just the 5-round atmosphere for Shevchenko. I liked in terms of points outside of because if Suarez does just get a decision, and even like look at Ansarov, didn't she just win a split decision over Gadelia or something? Like she has proven to be a tough out, especially in 3-round fights. So I don't know. It could end up being a disappointing affair if you're expecting Suarez to show up big. But
Kayla Harris-esque performance where she wins a dominant decision, but nobody's happy.
She's crying. She's upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think we can just about wrap it up there.
I mean, I'm gonna
take
be
up the Dave Chappelle clock. Wrap it up. But
I'm gonna be in development. Look for my dumb face.
Yeah, let's hear it. You got nothing?
What'd you say?
Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, I'm hoping for a good night fight. Selfishly, I'm gonna be there. I shelled out for the tickets. So I'm gonna see how close I can get in the prelims. So nobody come early. I'm gonna see if I can walk in and then get back to my seat right away. But yeah, I hope that what we don't see is 2 5-round decisions. I think Cejudo gets a 5-round decision, but I secretly hope for the finish, just for me being there. And if Shevchenko has like a very Nunes 2-esque type fight where she's just out there to outpoint and she's not out there to really take just guy out.
Yeah.
And then I hope Tuivasa and Ivanov have some sort of finish. I would hate to see that jab. But that's me being a selfish fan. Not really getting betting advice. Just entertaining.
Wild last-minute thoughts. Cerrone drops Ferguson with a jab. Stewart melts whatever his name is.
Stewart.
Ivan.
Stewart's going to take all your money. Stewart has a big bag of cash.
Stewart's going to come in big. I just keep seeing Cerrone had a nice jab in his last fight with Iaquinta, and I think it could give Ferguson some problems. But we'll see. It remains to be seen. If you see that kid at the fights, tell him he's a pussy. No, I don't know. Enjoy those fights live. We'll be back next week with some more. Is there fights next week? I don't know. We just assume there's fights every week. There's
I
fights.
think they take a week
If there's not, we can predict the fights outside of some local bar for you. We'll figure something out. But let us know questions, comments, concerns. Will we tell you our names? Maybe next time. We didn't do it this time. We'll maybe do it next time. Who knows? We're just a couple dudes talking fights. Don't bet scared, homie.